Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. Hopefully you guys have all had a chance to see Guardians of the Galaxy by now. It is definitely one of, if not the most fun Marvel movie so far. They've even already confirmed the sequel for July 2017, so this video is going to be my top 5 picks for stories they should adapt. This is just meant to get things started. Once they announce new castings, we can get a better picture for what the new movie is going to look like. If you're just finding me for the first time, I do Marvel videos every week. Be sure to subscribe to get everything, and yes, I am totally going to do videos for all the Marvel TV shows whenever they get here too. Here's something funny to think about. This past weekend, Guardians made about $165 million worldwide. So if you're James Gunn, you would probably celebrate by taking a vacation, right? Well, he actually spent the weekend working on Guardians 2. And he didn't just do that, he actually ate a lot of candy and talked a lot with fans on Twitter. That totally sounds like something I would do after finishing a really big video. Just start working on the next one and tweet pictures of dancing baby Groots. There were so many Easter eggs during the movie that I feel like half of my list is a no-brainer. So here's my top 5 stories I think they should do for Guardians 2. Careful for spoilers from the movie if you haven't seen it yet, but I'll wait just a second. Okay, everybody ready? Here we go. Number 5. The Universal Church of Truth tries to cleanse the galaxy of impurity and bring back the mages. The evil future version of Adam Warlock. Warlock is a huge character in the Marvel Universe all by himself, so he shows up in various ways on this list. But just think of it as like the church's crusade to bring him back. It was like Ronan being the main villain in Guardians of the Galaxy and Thanos being on the periphery. The thing about sequels is that from a narrative standpoint, there are only a couple directions they could go in. They can go bigger and up the stakes, they can go smaller and go deeper into specific characters, or it can be a time travel story, which is also kind of like an alternate universe story, depending on how the outcome is altered. I'll talk more about time travel in the Marvel Universe in a sec, but using the church would be a big escalation. In the comics, the church serves mages, which is an evil version of Adam Warlock. At a certain point, Warlock absorbed himself into the soul gem, the infinity gem that is, to prevent that future mage's self from coming about. So it's possible that the church could go on a quest for the soul gem to try and bring the mages back. There's a couple of things I think that would make that very difficult, and reasons why it probably wouldn't happen. Mostly that Adam Warlock was an Easter egg in the post-credits scene from Thor: The Dark World. That cocoon in the background, that's Adam Warlock's cocoon. In Guardians, in the post-credits scene, the collector's cases are all shattered, because of that big explosion. The cocoon from Dark World is broken, meaning whatever was inside escaped. Obviously, talking about Adam Warlock. The tease is just that Adam Warlock is out in the Marvel Universe, free to be used in any movie, potentially. There was actually a point in Marvel Comics history when they put a company-wide ban on using that character without giving a whole lot of reason. Sometimes characters will be retired for a little while if they don't think that they fit into the editorial for what they're trying to do with the comics. But moving on to a little bit more time travel, number 4, the Korvac saga. This is a time travel story, but they could alter it just a little bit. I don't think that the future Guardians sequel will feature another gem. I think we'll see the Gauntlet maybe at the end of the next Thor movie, but we have no idea where the time gem is. Either it'll show up in Avengers Age of Ultron or some other character's movie in Phase 3. But the first movie to deal with time travel will involve the time gem. So in the Korvac saga, in the comics, this being comes back in time, absorbs all of Galactus's collected knowledge, becomes this super being, tries to remake the Earth into a utopia. His name was Michael Korvac. Eventually, the Avengers and the Guardians team up to stop him, and it's one of those predestination paradox stories whereby at the end he sends his consciousness back to the future that he originally came from, setting off the chain of events that caused him to travel back in the first place. So it's like this never-ending causality loop. That seems way too complicated already for them to do in a Marvel movie. Typically, those types of stories, the ones that they end up doing on screen, tend to be very linear and very easy to follow. So think of maybe Korvac getting ultimate knowledge and the Guardians having to team up with a few new characters and Benicio del Toro's character to take him down. They kind of did this in the first movie, but in the Korvac saga, del Toro's character, the Collector, sends his daughter to help the Guardians. I'm hoping that the Collector becomes a much bigger part of the story in the sequel, regardless of what it ends up being. But upping the stakes a billion times, number 3, Marvel's The End. A group of celestial beings learn to harness this power called the Heart of the Universe. It's a Higgs boson situation, whereby the entire universe is defined in terms of this specific power. Things go a little sideways, and in order to stop them, Thanos absorbs it into himself, becoming one with the universe. In the course of saving everyone, Thanos learns that the universe is ultimately doomed to die, and the only way to save it is to destroy it and reboot it. He gets pissed, but the aspect of death in Adam Warlock convinces him to do the right thing. He reboots the universe, but in the process erases himself from existence. I know the Infinity Gauntlet storyline is all about Thanos gaining ultimate power, but it's a little bit different. When he's wearing the gauntlet with the gems in it, he just becomes more powerful. When he absorbs the heart of the universe, he essentially becomes one with everything. All the cosmic beings of the universe like Eternity, Infinity, Death, Galactus, they all just become part of him. So like I said before, that seems way too complicated for them to do in a movie, but take the idea of Thanos learning about a fundamental flaw in the universe, wanting to save it by destroying it and make that part of his backstory. Like his quest for the gems just becomes part of an ongoing quest for him to fix everything by destroying it and rebooting it. Saving the universe by blowing it up. That actually kind of sounds like a Doctor Who story, which is probably why they won't end up doing it. Moving on to something a little bit more practical though, number 2, the formation of the Cull Obsidian, or the Midnight Slaughter. This is a group of lieutenants that Thanos assembles in the recent Infinity storyline from last year. It's Corvus Glaive, Proxima Midnight, Supergiant, Black Dwarf, and Ebony Maw. Internally, they call themselves the Black Order, and each member is called a Dreadlord. So right now in the movies, Thanos only has a couple of people around him that we've met. There's the Other, who's actually played by Alexei Denisov, which is actually a cool, fun Whedonverse fact. But because Gamora and Nebula have a split on him, he needs more lieutenants. It would be pretty cool to see Thanos assemble his own evil Avengers. I don't know that a single movie could handle that many characters, considering you already have 5 Guardian characters returning, but Thanos will eventually have to replace those missing team members of his. And the number one story that I want to see them do in the Guardian sequel, Thanos' backstory combined with a lot of different other elements of major comic book arcs. Usually what ends up happening in Marvel movies is they take pieces of different stories and use them together, so I'd really like to see a deep cut on Thanos that spells out his past, so whenever we do get to Avengers 3, we don't have to spend half that movie explaining why he's assembling the gems. So here's a couple stories that they could layer into that. There's War of Kings, minus the Shi'ar, because Fox has rights to them. Add in Adam Warlock, as in like an anti-Thanos storyline that dovetails into the next Avengers movie. So you see the rise of these 2 celestial beings and the Guardians getting caught in between them in the middle of this giant galactic race war. Now it's actually starting to sound like Game of Thrones in space, which is another reason why they might just kind of water it down and make it a lot simpler. So don't plan on Game of Thrones, even though that sounds really awesome, and don't plan on seeing another Infinity Gem. They'll probably save that for another Marvel movie. It's pretty obvious though that they will do more Thanos and Peter Quill's father. After that, all bets are off. Whenever Glenn Close said that Quill came from something ancient, she was talking about an ancient race. His father in the comics is Jason of Spartax, Emperor of the Spartoi. They're a cousin race to the Shi'ar. Like I said, the Shi'ar are Fox, so it's possible that they could change his backstory just because of legal issues. Until we get confirmation though, let's just assume it's going to be the same as it is in the comics. It's likely that Quill will have to get his father's help to fight Thanos eventually, like use the Spartoi fleet the way they used the Nova Corps to help out in the first movie. That whole scene where Glenn Close was explaining Peter Quill's genetics to him was a little bit weird. I mean, the Spartoi aren't a secret race, and if the Nova Corps knows what an Infinity Gem is, then why can't their super machine identify Spartoi DNA? I don't want to poke too many holes in it, but it did bug me a little bit. They might change it and make Peter Quill's father a celestial being like Thanos. Thanos technically is not a celestial, but he descends from a celestial race, the Titans, so for all intents and purposes, he's a super being. Fun fact, in the comics, Peter Quill's grandfather is named Isan, as in Isan the Searcher, who was in the movie, no big celestial being. They're different characters. Isan, his grandfather, is a different character from Isan the Searcher, but they could use that fact to connect Peter Quill to the Celestials in the sequel. But now it's your turn. Let me know in the comments, which story do you want to see them do for the sequel from the comics? And do you think that Peter Quill's father is going to be a Celestial, or if they'll do it just like it is in the comics? My next Marvel video is probably going to be for Avengers 2, so be sure to subscribe to get it. Now that Guardians is starting to slowly go away, we can start to focus on Age of Ultron. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, please go see it. It is so amazing. Or see it again. I'm actually planning on seeing it again too. Right now, click here to get my review if you haven't seen it yet. And click here to get my breakdown of the Age of Ultron trailer from Comic-Con, the Avengers 2 trailer. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. High fives.